there. Good morning to everybody out there in the beautiful world. Welcome to E Squared Empowerment with Elysia. I'm your host, Elysia Buss, and today I have the great pleasure and honor of getting to hang out with Michelle Anglin, and she is the founder of Anglin Productions. She is a retired NYPD police officer. She is a writer, director, producer. She's got her own TV show, and she's like a multiple award winning, like from film festivals for her feature films. She had Best Actor from one of her feature films, and she is doing so much to get to empower people and make this world a better place and giving people a voice. So Michelle, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I love getting to have so many amazing people from around the world to get to step forward and share their stories. And you have quite the story, from being a police officer to a movie director, producer, I mean, like so many different things, and being a mom. So we'll get to talk about so many different things today. Where would you like to start?
Oh, well, first of all, I would like to thank you for having me here again. And I would like to start with what I'm doing actually now. So what I'm doing now is I'm in the middle of writing a horror, kind of a horror supernatural type series, and each episode it's on its own, so it's not connected to the next episode. Each episode is on its own, so you'll get a different story each time, and we're going to be shooting this summer. So I will be looking for actors and actresses because we will be shooting this summer, and it's a little eerie, kind of weird.
Where are you guys shooting?
Between New York and Jersey.
Nice.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yep.
So if anybody's looking to get to do some work acting, then you should definitely reach out to Michelle, if horror is your genre of choice to get to play in as an actor or actress. And so you're doing that, and then are you done with all of your other projects, or are you like working on multiple projects at the same time?
I'm working on multiple projects at the same time. The one that won a few awards, and it's actually finished, and we were just touching up some editing. That one is, I can't say, but it's looking to be put somewhere. And I had a couple of other people that had that asked me to have it on their channel, their upcoming channels. So that's a possibility also, but I did put it somewhere and I'm waiting for an answer.
Whoa.
So, and it was called The Bitchin' 4B. And I know a lot of people's been waiting for it because we've been talking about it. And every time I'm like, okay, we're putting it out. And I start advertising it on social media. Everyone's like, okay, I'm waiting. And then it's like another wait. So I'm really trying not to advertise it again until I know for sure that it's on a platform that they could watch. So
that's understandable. I feel like it takes a lot of restraint when you're super excited about a project. I know I struggle with that with my own projects. I have all these ideas all the time on these projects. I'm like, oh, I gotta do this and like all these things. And then it's just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes time. It's not easy. And to people who's not into the industry, they feel that, okay, what's taking so long? But it's really not that simple. It takes time, it takes money, and sometimes money will push you back, and sometimes certain other things will push you back. So, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
As I've had a few producers and writers on the show, and they talk sometimes about the struggle of holding on to your intellectual property. Have you struggled with that at all? Like people taking stuff from your scripts? Or have you been lucky and everything's been like all good?
I think I've been lucky. But there are some times that I've seen certain things because I took so long to put something out, and I'll see something on TV, actual real live TV, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's kind of similar to what I did. And I'm like, darn it, like, they have the money to put it out, I didn't. So, or they're they're established already. They're like a big time production. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm still not gonna let that stop me, because my story is still different, even though it has a little similarity to it.
Yeah,
So,
no, I love that you stand like with power in your authenticity is to be like, well, it's still my story, and my
right.
story still deserves to be told as it is, and I have a different slant on life instead of getting shut down because like somebody did something that was similar. So like, that's awesome. So within the industry and like you starting your own production company, what was that experience like? You just like woke up one day, like retired from being a police officer in 2012, and you're just like, I should totally do movies.
No, actually, I never really thought about writing and stuff. When I was in college, I wanted to do acting. Actually, before college, I wanted to make dresses for the women that's going to be on a red carpet for TV,
How
and
fascinating.
that's what I wanted to do. So I went to FIT, and which is Fashion Institute of Technology, and I really wanted to do that. And then when I was in college, it kind of turned, because I went to be an extra in Malcolm X, the movie. And
Yeah.
after that, I just fell in love with it. I was like, oh my God, I want to be an actress. I want to be an actress. Then I tried that, and I kind of then, had a child, and it kind of took me away from that. And then it just kind of, I stopped for a while just trying to be an actress. And when I got into NYPD, I ended up in a precinct with Anjanette Pinkston, which is a very good friend of mine. You probably
Great.
interviewed
We
her.
had her on the show.
Yes. So I end up in a precinct with her, and I remember her asking me, oh, and her husband was like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're in a play. And I said, okay. He said, come down, you should audition. So I said, all right. I went down, I got the lead part in a play. And then after that, we joked around and said we should make this our own play. And then we started writing our own stuff. And that's when I wrote the play, I Lost My Heart in Haiti, and Anjanette wrote the music for it.
Oh, that's
So
so
it was a
cool.
musical. It's a
I didn't
musical.
realize that she
So
also did music. That's so awesome.
yeah. So she wrote the music for it, and we put it out there, and we actually got an award from the senator of New York, Senator Parker. We got an award for that. And it was, that led us to film, because after that I said, okay, and I was kind of scared to get into film, because I knew what doing stage plays took, to do, but
Yeah.
film, this is a lot of work. Can I do this? And one day I just did it. Like, I went to took a class, and just started doing film. And I said, okay, this is not bad,
You're like, I can do this. This is all right. Like, this is all right.
And it's actually different, because it's with film you have more locations you could deal with, like, so you could write more and use your imagination more, whereas with stage you're confined and limited to one or two locations, maybe three, depending on your budget, because it's a stage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. I was actually going to ask you what your experience was in the difference between like feature films, TV, web series, and plays.
Yeah, plays, again, it's all live, so you really have one chance. So your actors have to know their lines, or they have to know how to, if they forget their lines, how to, improv. So and the other difference is, again, you have a live audience, and you hear their comments in the background. So it can make you feel good being on stage, with that. As a director and a writer of stage plays, it's fun. It's very, it's fun to see it come alive in front of you. And like I said, you have one chance, because it's live, and that's it. But you're limited to a location, so it limits your thinking on your writing to like one or two locations, and you have to deal with, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to put this on? And whereas film, you could do a lot of locations. If you have the budget, or you go talk to someone and maybe they'll let you film in their place for advertisement. But it's more, and then you have more takes. So if they mess up, you could do it again. You could do it again. You could do it again. So yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. What was it like for you pitching your first feature film?
Well, pitching it, I did pitch it to one person before, but I've never really pitched it to someone like that matters. I shouldn't say that. I should say more like someone that can actually do something about it and say, okay, we want that. We want to buy it from you, or we want to make it. So it's just basically me making movies and putting it out there. And I actually just recently sent out a query letter, they call it, to a couple of agencies, so trying to find a manager. So
it's exciting.
So right now I'm in the middle of writing feature films that I want to sell, and then doing other things that I want to actually produce myself. So
sounds like a very fun time with a little bit of extra like stretch to it.
Yeah,
because it's good for all of us to grow and to stretch and like find our edges.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, no, I imagine it does take a minute to like get established, especially in the film industry. So what do you feel like what's your experience been being a woman of color in the film industry? Like, what are some of the things that you might have run across?
Well, I think it's just being a woman. And this is why I have a what I just recently, this will be going into my second year of doing a film festival myself, having my own film festival called She Films.
That's awesome.
And it's about women, women filmmakers. And our motto is behind every camera is a great woman. So I have a certain section online on my website that says women behind the camera, and it's women that are more than just actors, more than just actresses, because I've been on set where I was the assistant director, and we're waiting to get into the location, and everyone that walks up is like, oh, you one of the talent? Oh, you an actress? And they're thinking I'm an actress, and I'm like, no, I'm assistant director. And they're like, huh? You look more like an actress. And I'm like, okay, great. So this is what we have to go through as being a woman, especially if you're a decent looking woman.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're obviously beautiful, so they just like look at you and just like assume that you're like a star.
Right. It's a little challenging because you have to be more demanding and for respect, because there are certain people that might be on set that might not. I haven't actually dealt with that on set, or anyone coming to me in a certain way on set, because I demand respect as soon as I get on set. I'm like, this is what we're gonna do, boom, boom, boom. It's no and it's none of that. Like, we gonna have fun, but we're gonna get the job done. And we have to have that respect because we're women. And a lot of times they feel, oh, women don't do this. Oh, women don't do that. And or we can't do this, we can't do that. Or again, they're making googly eyes at you. You're like, listen, you're gonna respect me. I am your director, you work for me. You have to demand that respect. And it's I think a lot of things these days, and it's been like that from the beginning of time, it's a man's world. But we really know, well, how they used to say, behind every great man is a good woman. Yeah, so we really know who's really running things.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to find that balance.
Opportunity and get out there and fight for it. That's it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting sort of thing to find that balance of honoring both sides of ourselves, right? Because there's masculine and feminine energy in all of us, regardless of gender identification. And like, how do we navigate like the hustle of the masculine energy and the flow of just like surrendering to a situation and just being like, I have faith that this is all going to work out, and like balancing those two things within ourselves.
Yep.
And having them have equal value, right? One is not better than the other.
Also, you have you get even other women who kind of have a doubt about you, and I don't know why they figure like with Hitchcock was like horrible looking, you know, a little short, weird looking guy, right? So it's like they feel that if you don't look like that, you cannot be smart. So even with other women, if I'll go into a what you call it, with other women, right? Maybe you know, what's that thing called? Networking, a networking thing with other women, right? And then you'll have them looking at you like, and then you're like, what does that look for? And then you're thinking, if they're kind of like the Albert Hitchcock type looking, you're thinking, I'm sorry, but you're thinking, okay, why are you looking at me like this? I am smart too. Like, I can be smart too. And they're thinking that you're not smart. And they're thinking, oh, what can she possibly bring to the table of filmmaking? And I have guys that will sit and tell me, and even other female friends of mine that will sit and tell me the certain things that I come up with, ideas I come up with. They're like, okay, wow, like that's crazy. Like, I can't wait to shoot this, or I can't wait to act in this, or something like that, because I try to be a little different. My ideas are like a little different. So no.
I'm sorry to hear that you've been experiencing those sorts of things. Like, it's just,
yeah, it just makes you have to prove it better, you know? So.
Yeah, it's just like, we all just like stand in our truth, be like, yep, this is me, and your judgments don't matter, because I'm choosing to not let myself be at effect of your judgments. Exactly. Because that's what power is, right? The power of the mind.
And this is why I started She Films Film Festival too. So it's all about women of whether you're in front of the camera. We try not to do just we did have a Best Actress category, but it's mainly directors, female directors, female writers. A guy could enter if he has a female director or a female writer, you know, and camera person, anything like that. It has to be a woman that's in it, like that had a powerful place in that film to enter into my festival.
I absolutely love that. When is the festival?
We held it in November last year, but we started accepting submissions in April. So it's coming up again. The submissions are coming up again.
That's very exciting. So where do people go to submit their stuff to you? I'm just so excited about this project. I love female empowerment, especially in the film industry.
Film Freeway.
Film Freeway.
Yeah, Film Freeway.
Yeah. I'll write that down and make sure we get that in there.
It was actually really fun. The film festival was really fun this year. So.
It sounds like it'd be super fun. Is it in New York?
Yes, we held it in Staten Island at Hub 17. That's where we held it last year.
How many people came?
Oh, I don't even know. Probably like 100. No, probably 100 people, which is kind of pretty cool for a first festival. So.
Oh, for sure, especially given that like we're still in a pandemic. Probably would have been way more if we weren't, you know, still navigating that situation, especially in New York.
There was a lot of people that submitted that was from California and other places. So, you know, they couldn't come down, like you said, because of the pandemic and things like that. And a lot of our winners was from them too. So I had to like mail out their awards, which was, you know, cool.
That's cool. So are you taking people just from the United States, or is it from all over the world?
I was just taking people from the United States, but I did get certain submissions from like Africa. It was UK and Australia, and I'm like, okay, wait, what?
Sounds like you just got to make it bigger. Or just have two festivals. You could have like the US version and the global version.
Right.
Oh, that's so cool. So with all of that process and dealing with how people are treating you as a woman in film, what was your experience as a police officer?
Okay, so that's another topic with women also.
Exactly. I'm like, let's just slide right over into that one.
As a police officer, wasn't too bad. They would tell us that it's funny, when I first got there, they tell us, all right, women, it's either two types of women in the police department. Either you're out there, meaning, you know, you're a hoe, or you're gay. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. So you as a female have to go in there and prove yourself, but you cannot, it won't even matter, because if you don't talk to anyone or date anyone in your department, they think they're calling you gay. And I went through that, you know, and I didn't even know I went through it, because I heard about it after I left. I'm like, oh, really? This is what they were saying about me? So it's just funny. But after, one thing that I saw within the department was a little bit of racism. I mean, it's a lot of racism, but I saw a little bit at one point during my time in NYPD. And then there was a time when I got out of NYPD, and it was because of a case that happened, and was myself and another female officer. And it was right after, like maybe a year after or two after the Sean Bell thing. I'm not sure how far after it was. And they basically used us as an example. Like, look, we're doing our job. We're policing the police. And it wasn't the case, because what happened with us was self-defense. And we basically went through a whole lot of court and the news at the first time ever, the news. And that's why the news with me, I don't really care for them, because it was, oh, this gangster officers, this and that, and blah, 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 and this officers and front page. Then a couple years later, we're still going to court. Then the news people came to the courtroom, saw how we were, and now they're on our side. Oh no, the police officers are great. Oh, this is what happened to them. So it's like just crazy how the news could influence people.
Yeah.
And you know, they have the power to influence people. The media, definitely, any media have the influence. So what I didn't like is the fact that what happened with us, and we were doing self-defense, and we, you know, hurt someone in a process, and basically lost our jobs because of it. You know, they like, okay, you need to retire, you need to leave. And we kind of was tricked into it, to leaving. And right after, there was a case similar to the things that's going on now, but the cops actually stopped someone on the street and beat them with a bat. They died. And it was this little bit of an article. The article was this small in the newspaper, and the article said, oh, the star, I think they were baseball or football players of NYPD. Oh, they, you know, they got into this, they got into that, and then you heard nothing else after that. So it's like, I have friends that's still on the force, and they'll call me up every time someone gets shot and say, you see this bullshit? You see this?
They're just like
what they did to y'all, and this is wrong, you know.
Yeah.
And so that shows how the racism is in this department, and a lot of other departments, a lot of this world, you know, that it's one thing for one race and another thing for another race, and it's not fair. It's just you know, it's something that I had to live through. And you know, it's nothing I could really have done about it, but everyone's trying to do more. And it's just like, I heard today on the radio how the other cops with the Floyd, the other cops, they got prosecuted. And they said something on the radio and said, this will help because it was showed other cops that you just can't stand there and watch somebody do wrong. As a police officer, you can't stand there and watch another police officer do something wrong to somebody. You can't do it. Like everyone's afraid, I'm not gonna lose my job, or I'm being scrutinized by the department for not having their backs. And honestly, there's no such thing as blue anymore. Like, oh yeah, blue silence or code of silence. There's nothing like that anymore. Because if you do something wrong and you're a person of color, you're gonna get in trouble. So it's no silence, no blue code of silence. So if you see any officer, I don't care what color he is, black, white, Chinese, whatever he is, they're doing something wrong, you're supposed to speak up as an officer. You're supposed to speak up. You're not supposed to keep silence. So with this verdict that came in, it kind of is helping, you know, taking steps toward what we want done in the society, whereas you're being accountable for your actions. You didn't do anything. That was something that we're taught in NYPD. Even if you're off duty and you see something going down, you're accountable to call 911 and say, this is what's happening. So you as an officer, and you see another officer hurting somebody and they're going beyond the job, you're supposed to call them out. You're supposed to stop them. And if those officers that were standing by had stopped them and pulled him off of Floyd, he would have been alive today.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And now, you know, they have to pay for their not making the actions they were supposed to take.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank goodness they are being paid, like being made to pay for that, because it's not okay. It's completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of injustice out there, and you and I had spoke about what Black men are experiencing today in America and the justice system and the things that are non-ideal, and what's happening in the school system. So being a mom and also being a police officer, like what, and like observing things within your community, what like would you like to speak to in regards to that?
I think with when it comes to Black men in America, it's kind of a failing. The system is failing Black men in America because I think from the beginning, it's like it's made for them to fail. I think women, even Black women, would have it better. We have better things for us to survive if we're doing wrong, that poorly. I mean, it's not great for us, but it's better for us than the Black men. We have more opportunity to do things. They'll take us in a job over a Black man. And it's like, I feel that being incarcerated for a nonviolent crime, for the amount of time that they have them, it's just wrong. It's just wrong because it's nonviolent crime. They should not be in jail that long for something like that. And I think the system is designed to do that to them. And also with the child support thing, it's another way of keeping them down because you're gonna go to jail if you don't pay your child support. Then when you get out of jail, now you can't get a job because you've been in jail. Now you're in trouble again for not paying child support. So it's a wicked cycle that just keep going on and on. And this is keeping our Black men from getting jobs. And I know firsthand because I'm not a Black man, I'm a Black woman, but I know firsthand because after that whole thing happened with NYPD, I couldn't get jobs. I couldn't get a job. No, I didn't do jail time, but I did, I didn't do jail time, but I did I did what you call it, get prosecuted for a misdemeanor, and
just for defending yourself.
just for defending myself, exactly. And it was so hard for me to get a job after that. I even lost out on an apartment one time because they did a background check. So I understand with these men that have felonies for a non-violent crime, definitely are not getting jobs. It's very hard. And I think from day one, our school system, that's number one, our school system is very poor. We're in poor neighborhoods. The neighborhoods we live in, the things that we see, at a young age, these kids are seeing other people getting killed. They're seeing drugs on the street. They're seeing all types of things. And I feel that from the very beginning, it's a fight. It's a fight. And if you're not strict on your children and you're not like on them and keeping them out, you can't even let them go outside sometime, which is bad. You can't, if you're not like that, they're gonna get lost. They're really gonna get lost. You know, I've been a foster parent for over 15 years, and I've seen it. I've seen them come from parents that are addicts, parents that couldn't deal with them, and I see how they are, the things they went through, and it's sad, you know. And I think if people had equal opportunity, and everyone said, oh yeah, it is, it's really not.
Yeah.
If we had equal opportunity, we would, I think, be better. I think things would be better. It's just, you know, the mentality that our people are having, and they're not changing because they feel that there's no hope. And we know the biggest thing in life is hope. When you have hope, you work harder to get things. When you have hope, if you don't have hope, you give up, and you're like, oh well, no, this is what I have to do to survive. So.
Yeah, because I mean, like, there is, when you're experiencing trauma, you're like stuck in that survival mode, right? Like, you're doing what it takes literally to survive. And also the impact of generational trauma and how that affects people physiologically as well as mentally and emotionally and spiritually, right? And it's just like, it takes a lot of support and a willingness to reach out for resources, reach out for support, and not have to feel like you're weaker because of it. And when you're in a space of survival, like, weakness is not something that you want to be showing.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Because it's like literally dangerous, right? And then with society, like with men already not oftentimes being told that it's safe to be vulnerable, and then you have that environment laying on top of that, can make it really difficult for people to be supported and to rise. And especially, like, so much of life is role modeling. And if you don't see things being role modeled for you, then you're just like, you don't know what you don't know, right? And it makes it, and it's not that it's impossible to break out of those things without it being role modeled for you, but it certainly makes it more difficult.
Yes. Yep.
And which is why one of the reasons why I love having people like yourself here on the show, to be able to have a voice and be a positive role model and be like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing to live my dreams. And like, I want to do movies, and this is fantastic, but you had to overcome obstacles to be able to get to that space. And you get to be this fantastic voice for women out there doing film and like doing your film festival and being like, hey, I'm creating this space for all the rest of you to also be seen and supported and celebrated, which is so cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's beautiful. And I appreciate you vulnerably sharing about your experience.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, because it's a powerful, important story for people to hear. So there was another thing that we wanted to speak to in regards to what, like, the cycle of what it is that you're seeing. And we brought up the gender war. And I think part of that is also men experiencing domestic violence and not necessarily feeling like it's safe for them to share about that experience and have that be brought to the public in this aspect of some hypocrisy that's happening, because like women, it's like obviously nobody should experience domestic violence at the hands of any human being, regardless of gender. But like sometimes what you might see in the justice system is women say that something has happened, but it hasn't necessarily happened.
Yes. Yes. I personally experienced that only through my son, who had to go through that situation because like you said, women will say, I did this, I did that. Oh, this person did this to me and it's not true. And I'm not taking away from women who have been in domestic violence, because I myself was in a domestic violence relationship. So I definitely would never take that away from a woman. But on the other hand, like you said, there are men who have experienced domestic violence and no one speaks about it because the men are too ashamed to speak about it. And they feel like they look, you know, kind of like a punk or something like that or whatever. A lot of times the police, if they call the police sometimes is not going to believe it. And it's just something that's not spoke, you know, it's not heard of too much. It's like a man getting beat up by his woman, you're right. But it's true, it happens. It does happen. Not as often as a woman would, but it happens. And the other thing you mentioned was women lying and saying that a guy did something to them just to get them in trouble. And I've seen a lot of women do that maybe is upset because them and the guy broke up and they have a child together, and that also happens in NYPD. As a like police officers get accused by their mate or their child's mother of hitting them, and with that there's no questions asked. You get your gun and shield taken away from you as soon as they make that accusation. And that's why these women know that. So that's like, oh, this perfect revenge, and it's not right. You're dealing with his livelihood, his job, his money, and you're not thinking he don't have a job, money, he can't pay you child support. I
mean, I shouldn't necessarily laugh about it, but I mean, like it's true, and people like in the heat of the moment, like I get they're upset and they might be feeling disempowered in general, and so they're lashing out. But a lot of people don't think about like the long-term impacts that those allegations are rippling through that person's life. And it's a lot, and then like if they find out it's not true, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel like there's necessarily repercussions for that person that made that false allegation.
It's really not. It haven't been, and it should be. It really should be, but it's not. And it's sad because, like you said, once it's made, it's like you can't take it back. And it's not just out of anger and people think, okay, there are some people that might be a little decent and they do that out of anger, and then later on they think, I kind of could ruin this person's life. But then there are some people that don't care.
They're just malicious. And they're just like,
malicious. And they're like, I don't care if I ruined his life. That's good. I ruined his life, blah, blah. He broke my heart, or he did this, he did that. Yes, I'm gonna ruin his life. And when they find out about it again, like you said, there's nothing. Like, it's like, okay, she said you did this, you didn't. All right, we're sorry, go along with your life. Like, yeah. I think there should be that person should go to jail for lying to the cops.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. There is a book written by Madonna. It's a really great children's book. It's called Mr. Peabody's Apples. And have you seen this book before?
I think I've seen it before.
Yeah,
I didn't read it, but I saw it before.
It's a really great book. And so basically, long story short, Mr. Peabody is going to the market, and he takes a couple of apples without paying for them from the viewpoint of a child that walks by. And then the child goes by and starts telling the gossips and tells everybody that Mr. Peabody stole the apples. And then Mr. Peabody eventually gets wind that this has been happening. This kid is telling everybody. So he very calmly takes the kid to the stand where he bought the apples. And he says to the person who sells the apples, he's just like, hey, so like, this child thinks that I've been stealing apples. And the person basically says like, no, like you prepaid for the apples.
Okay.
And so, but because of the outside observer, and then the kid, of course, feels really bad. And then they go to the top of this hill, and Mr. Peabody has like a giant pillow filled with feathers. And he rips open the pillow. It's like a windy day, and all the feathers go everywhere. And he tells the kid, I need you to collect all of the feathers. And all the feathers are like the words that were spoken to people, and you can't take it back. You can't reach all of the people that those words impacted, and then those people tell more people, and then that reputation is damaged, and you can't repair it.
Yep, that's true. I like that story.
Everybody should go read Mr. Peabody's apple.
Yeah.
The illustrations are great too. But yeah, it's important for us to realize that, and that's why even when we have a bad day and we do what I call wrong targeting, and we lash out at somebody who has nothing to do with the pain that we're actually in, then we have to go back and apologize.
Which most people usually don't do.
Yeah, because eating crow is not delicious. And sometimes I had a situation recently, which was, I was frustrated about a bunch of different things in life, and I felt myself being very short, and I had an interaction that irritated me further. And so the person was trying to be nice and reach out, and I was very short with them regarding like not engaging overly with that, just like really basic addressing what it is that they were trying to communicate to me. And they could have told themselves whatever story that they needed to about the why, right? And then I eventually got to a place where I had enough bandwidth, and I just said, hey, I've been communicating with you minimally because I know that the level of frustration that I had about the situation was not equal to what the situation actually was. And I wanted to minimize the amount of spillage onto you as possible, because I didn't feel like it was fair to you because I knew that my reaction was not equal, and that I was probably going to mismanage and say something towards them that was not fair for all of that. And so being like whatever they had to deal with on that side while they waited for that communication from me, that was their journey, and me just being like, I'm sorry, and I know that we both handled this at the highest level of integrity that we could, and that's what it is. And sometimes we just well, it's not comfortable, and people can push on us because they want an answer for something. Sometimes we just have to have healthy boundaries and be like, hey, I'm feeling kind of irrational, and this isn't going to be the best thing possible if I engage with you right now. And hopefully you can have grace with me if I seem a little short and sharp, but it's going to be better for everybody on the flip side if you can just have a little patience and grace while I handle my own bullshit over it.
Exactly.
And I mean, sometimes just being able to have the self-awareness and the discipline to just do that can take all you've got.
Yeah. and hopefully
self-restraint
that you know to can respect that, and like you said, have boundaries, like, okay, she's not in the mood, let me wait, let me not bother her, wait until she's in the mood to come and speak to me. Yeah, that'd be great to have people around you like that.
Yeah, and knowing it's just and if people get upset with you because of how you manage that situation, you can just be like, with love and compassion, I wish you well on your way. Because if that's not workable for you, then this friendship, this partnership, this collaboration, whatever, probably just isn't a great idea.
So in other words, be gone.
Yeah, be like, peace out. And you're a great person, you're doing great things, and we're not in a space to get to like operate if your sensitivity and reactivity is at that level, that like me having boundaries and articulating me trying to keep both of us as safe as possible is not workable for you. Like it's a journey for all of us, and just being able to humble, like without be like having anger and judgment and attachment, like because sometimes like you really want to work with somebody, but if they're in that, if they're not in that space, you're just like, that's unfortunate. Like it really is. Like I really wanted to get to work and do stuff with you, but it's just like you got. My dad has this phrase, and it's going to sound a little bit crass potentially for people out there that like love animals and stuff, but it's potent. This is what I was raised with, y'all. So you just get to like bear with me. There's two ways to cut off a dog's tail. You can either cut it off all at once, or you can cut it off an inch at a time so it hurts less. There's sarcasm there for anybody that's missing that. Because it's just like some people are just like, well, if I just like pull away a little bit at a time, it's gonna hurt less. Instead of like, we're just gonna have a like more intense experience potentially by having really strong boundaries and saying no and grieving or whatever, and then moving on, versus prolonging inevitable until you get to the end of the tail.
Yeah. I think I'd rather just take it away.
Just take it away. Just take it away. And so, yeah, it's kind of intense, but that's what I
said earlier, there's a thing called hope. And if you do little by little, people are going to still hope that they have, all right, I'm still around, or that person's still around. So I have the hope that things are going to get better, or things are going to work out, and that person's actually trying to get away from you little by little, or whatever it is. Yeah. So I think just take it away.
Just take it away. Yeah. Because like, otherwise it could be like your enabling behavior that can potentially become really problematic for one or both people. Because like you're training somebody to think that how they're treating you is acceptable.
Yep, that's so true.
And that can be really hard for all of us to own.
You made me think about some stuff today too.
It's good for all of us.
If you hear my mouth, it's hurtful. I'm cutting you off, it's hurtful.
No, I take full responsibility for people's empowerment to have better relationships. I'll take it. Yeah, because I mean, like, otherwise it's distracting from people. Like when you want to be your authentic self and you're having to deal with this noise because you're continuing to let people treat you a certain way that's not aligned with your truth and your value system, it's harder to just stand in your truth.
That's true.
So, yeah. Well, my friend, is there anything else you would like to share with the people in the audience before we start to wrap up for this afternoon?
Just look out for me on Facebook. I'm under Anglin Michelle. On Instagram, it's Anglin Productions. And I'm also on Twitter, as in I Write for Film or She Film Festivals. Just look out for me. I will be advertising auditions that's coming up for this summer. We're going to be shooting a lot. So this summer, if you want to shoot, film on a fun project, whether you're into horror or not, or sci-fi or not, just come on audition, and we're going to be doing some fun things this summer.
That sounds fantastic. So, Michelle, who inspires you in the world today?
So, people who inspire me, I think are one person in particular is Anjanette Pinkston. She inspires me because she's in my ear a lot. Like, oh, you're a good writer. Don't give up. And like I do a lot of times try to feel like giving up because just life in general, makes me feel like giving up on some things. So she inspires me. She tells me, don't give up, don't give up. And I think a lot of my actors inspire me also, because they tell me, oh, you're so good, you're this. And a lot, just listen to them have faith in me. It brings me back to have faith in myself. So it's good to have a team of people that actually have faith in you and believe in your projects. And if they believe in your projects, that make you want to do more, and then you don't give up. So I have this thing that I saw that I love, and it said, when I die, I would like to tell God that I used all the talents that you gave me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
It give me like shivers, like.
I know, I love that.
No, that's beautiful. Well, Michelle, thank you again so much for sharing your wisdom, your candor, and your story today on the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So everybody out there, if you've enjoyed the show, please feel free to put #replay. And if you know anybody who would like to be on the show, send them my way. And if you're interested in doing any empowerment coaching with me, with or without horses, or having me at one of your events, please do contact me at www.globalequineaffiliates.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Elysia Buss, and of course on Facebook at Elysia Jane Buss. So until next time, y'all, we'll see you later. Bye.